So in this Gem Cut Studio or GCS tutorial, I will explain all about the mirror feature, which seems confusing to a new user of GCS, but is actually simple to understand once you work through an example of a mirror design in GCS. Also, I have created a playlist on YouTube where I will link all the GCS tutorials that I know of. Those tutorials created by me, as well as any GCS tutorials created by others on YouTube. That will give you one convenient place to go look for help on any GCS topic you like. If you know of other GCS tutorial videos that are not in this playlist, just let me know and I'll update the playlist. You can click on the link on the screen to find the playlist. Also, this is a good time for you to consider liking and subscribing to my tutorials. That gives me feedback that you're finding these videos useful and that I'm providing you with valuable information. Please also comment after viewing the video or let me know what else you want to learn and if anything I covered was not clear. Also, if I missed something, and I'm sure I will, please comment so everybody will benefit. Thanks. Now that we understand how symmetry works from the past tutorial that I've created, this is a good time to learn about mirror as it is related to symmetry. To demonstrate mirror, I will take one of my favorite designs, one that I have a PDF copy of or paper copy, and recreate this design in GCS. The design I will use is called Signature Number 4, and it was designed by the late Jeff Graham. He released this design into the public domain for all cutters to freely use. I made a video of cutting this design, which includes instructions on how to get to Jeff's now closed website and access all of about the 24 or so designs that Jeff released into the public domain. You can find this information in this video. This is definitely my favorite trillion design, and I think you will enjoy cutting it also if you haven't already. So let's use this design to learn about mirror and to recreate this design in a GCS format for future use. Here's a paper copy or PDF of how this design should look once it's cut. The PDF instructions for cutting this design are shown here. And as you can see, there's a total of 55 facets in 12 lines of instruction. So let's put my PDF copy of Signature Number 4 into GCS. As we learned in the previous tutorial, to begin working with a new design in GCS, go to File, New. This resets the application, and basically GCS gives you a block or cube of GemRough to begin cutting on. In this tutorial, we'll be working with mirror. So let's look at what the mirror feature does in GCS. It takes some index, a base index such as 96, and shows two indexes or cuts that will be made an equal distance, like a mirror, from this base index. So the base index is at 96. Suppose we are to cut two indexes that are a distance away from this base index of 2. We set mirror to 2, and now notice how the 94 and the 2 index are now shown on the slider. If we move the slider and change the base index from 96 to another index, say 4, the mirror moves to show the 2 and 6 indexes, which are both a distance of 2 from this new base index of 4. The base index won't show on the cutting instructions, just the 2 and the 6 indexes. This will all make more sense by the end of this tutorial, but I wanted to give you a visual of how mirror works. For now, reset the mirror to 0 and the base back to 96. So the first line of cutting instructions are to cut 3 facets on the pavilion to make a center point. Let's review our symmetry rule that we learned in a previous tutorial. If the jump between index values on a tier are equal, it is symmetrical. That's the symmetry rule. In the case of this first tier, the jump between the 96 index tooth of the 96 gear index and the 32 index tooth is 32, and the jump to the 64 index from the 32 index is a distance of another 32, and the jump from the 64 index back to the 96 index is also a distance of 32. So the jump between each index value on this tier is 32. Therefore, this tier is symmetrical. So we type the masked angle of 45.85 degrees, or you could use a slider. Set the base index to 96, symmetry at 3, and set mirror to 0, as this tier met our symmetry rule, not mirror. Use the depth slider to make a center point, and notice that the first instruction for the QLET that GCS gave us with our block of rough will disappear when I make this new center point, as we have now cut away the original QLET. Press cut, type in the comment, cut to center point. Here is the instruction for line 2 of our design. For this tier, there are 6 indexes, and there is not an equal jump or distance between them. From 3 to 29 is a distance of 26. From 29 to 35, only a distance of 6. 35 to 61, again, the distance is 26, and from 61 to 67, the jump is 6 again. From 67 to 93, jump is 26 again, and from 93 to 3 on a 96 gear index, the jump is 6. So our symmetry rule is not met. The jumps between the indexes are not equal. So next we need to look at the mirror rule. The mirror rule is this: when you have a tier where the jumps between indexes are not equal, assume you have a mirror. The mirror rule is more general because we just kind of assume we have a mirror. It's not an absolute rule like the symmetry rule. Symmetry rule, if the jump between the indexes is the same distance, it's symmetrical, period. We may prove out that what we assume to be a mirror may not be a mirror. It may be that the gem designer actually has non-symmetrical cuts, non-mirror cuts in a line of cutting instructions because of some shape that he or she wanted to obtain. But we need to rule that out. So for a mirror, we divide the number of index values by 2 to get symmetry, and add a mirror to double the number of index values back. So this tier has 6 index values, so we divide 6 by 2 and get a symmetry of 3. Now for the mirror, we look at the first index, which is 3, and the last index, which is 93. And we're looking for the distance between the 96 or 0 index on our 96 tooth index gear. So the first index of 3 is a distance of 3 away from 0, and the last index of 93 is a distance of 3 away from the 96 or 0 index. So the mirror, in this case, is 3. So set the masked angle to 44.91 degrees, base index to 96, symmetry to 3, and mirror to 3, as we just discussed. We want to use the cutting plane to cut to the center point, or just press jump until we reach the center point. Press cut and type in the comment, cut to center point. Here is the instruction for line 3. The distance between 6 and 26 is 20, and the distance between 26 and 38 is only 12. So the distance between indexes is not equal, and our symmetry rule is not met, so we assume mirror. So set the masked angle to 42.44 degrees, set the base index at 96, set symmetry to 3, the number of indexes of 6 divided by 2. And now we need to determine the mirror. So we look at the distance between 96 or 0 on our 96 gear index and the distance to the first and last index. The distance to the first index of 6 is 6, and the distance from 96 to the last index of 90 is also 6. So set mirror at 6. And then press the jump key to jump to the center point, press cut, and put in the comment, cut to center point. The fourth line of instruction is shown here, and we've previously cut these three indexes in the earlier line of instruction, and we know this line is symmetrical and not a mirror. So type in the masked angle of 90 degrees, set the base index to 96, symmetry at 3 because we have 3 indexes to cut, set mirror to 0, and move the slider to create your girdle. Press cut and type in the comment cut to meet P1. The fifth line of instruction is shown here, and we previously cut these same 6 indexes in the second line of instruction, so we already know this is a mirror of 3. So we can leave the masked angle at 90 degrees, set the base index at 96, symmetry at 3, and mirror to 3, as we did with the second line of instruction. Jump to meet the point where we met P2 and press cut. Type the comment cut to meet P2. The sixth line of instruction is shown here. These are the same indexes we cut for the third line of instruction. We then identified this line as a mirror because the jump between the indexes was not equal. And we also identified that mirror is 6 because the first index of 6 is a distance of 6 away from 0 or 96, and the last index of 90 is also a distance of 6 away from 96 or 0. So leave the masked angle at 90, leave the base index at 96, set symmetry to 3, mirror to 6, and press jump to get to the meet point with P3. Press cut, add the comment cut to meet P3. Now we finished cutting the pavilion of our signature number 4 design. So now we transfer to the crown by making sure the crown is highlighted and not pavilion. The first line of instruction for the crown is shown here. We have cut these 3 indexes before, 96, 32, and 64. We know they're symmetrical, so simply set the masked angle to 42, base index to 96, symmetry to 3, mirror to 0, and move the slider down so the cutting plane cuts to a girdle. Just eyeball girdle thickness for now. I explained in the previous video how to go back later and adjust girdle thickness if you want. Type cut, type in the comment cut to meet girdle. The second line of instruction for the crown is shown here. We have cut these 6 indexes before and already determined this line is a mirror of 3. So set the masked angle to 42 degrees, base index to 96, symmetry to 3, and mirror to 3. Press jump until you reach the girdle, cut, and type in the comment cut to meet girdle. The third line of instruction for the crown is shown here. And we previously cut these 6 indexes on another tier, so we already know this line is a mirror of 6. Set the masked angle to 45.1, base index to 96, symmetry to 3, and mirror to 6. Press jump until you reach the girdle, cut, type in the comment cut to meet girdle. The fourth line of instruction for the crown is shown here. We have not cut these 6 indexes before with this design, so we need to examine them for symmetry. The distance from the first index to the second, 2 to 30, is 28, and the distance from 30 to 34 is only 4. So this does not fit our symmetry rule, so we have to assume mirror. So for mirror, First off, set the masked angle to 38.96 degrees. Set the base index to 96. Since there are 6 indexes that we're cutting, and under mirror we divide by 2, set the symmetry to 3. Now we need to determine the mirror. So we're going to determine the distance from the 96 or 0 index. The first index of 2 is 2 away from 0 or 96, and the last index of 94 is also 2 or away from 96 or 0. So mirror is 2. Press jump until you meet the girdle, cut, and type in the comment, cut to meet girdle. The 5th line of instruction for the crown is shown here. We have cut these 3 indexes several times before with this design, and we know this line is symmetrical. Set masked angle to 21.33, base index to 96, and symmetry to 3. Set mirror to 0, and press jump until you cut to the intersection of instructions C1, C2, C3. Press cut, type in the comment, cut to meet C1, C2, C3. The final line of instruction is to cut the table. And we've covered this in the previous tutorial. So when you cut the table, when you set the masked angle to 0 degrees in GCS, the number that's in the base index or symmetry and mirror do not matter. And that's because with an angle of 0, you can only cut one facet. So set masked angle to 0 and press jump until you reach the intersection of C4, C5. Press cut and type in the comment, cut to meet C4, C5. Go to File, Save, and save our signature number 4 design because it's now complete and it's now in a GCS format. So in this tutorial, I've explained about symmetry and introduced mirror, and also recreated one of my favorite Trilliant designs into GCS so that I can use it in the future. Please let me know in the comments if I missed anything about symmetry or mirror, and let me know what else you'd like to see covered in a tutorial. And as always, happy fastening, everyone.